and the Europeans definitely know how to do it properly. And literally without a beat, absolutely deadpan, just looks at me straight in the face and says, "I'm pretty sure you've got to stop drinking to be hungover." And that was the gist of the story. So, yeah, we giggled, we had a good laugh.
Mr. Mark Bicknell, welcome.
Derek Orr. Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. The PGA of BC podcast, guest number 1. When you look back at your career, could this be the highlight?
Without question. I mean, getting down to sit down with you and see that smiling face the other side of a camera and chat about kind of the things that we have a passion for. Yeah, honored to be on. Honored to be a PGA BC, PGA of Canada member, and look forward to chatting everything to do with golf. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, you're good, man. I mean, Mark, we've known each other for a long time, and we first met maybe a Saturday morning. I mean, my first shift was with Connor Taiji, and we met one Saturday morning. I think the Saints were playing, and you asked me if I want. And you were nice. I do remember this. You called it soccer the first time. You dumbed it down. Right?
Yeah.
And then since then, it's been a pleasure and a treat to work with you and around you and see everything you're passionate about. You're truly someone that is very comfortable being and talking about the sport and being one of the best professionals I know, playing and teaching.
I appreciate that. I know we didn't get to work together for too long. I think the emotions of being a Saints fan and having it on in the background on Saturday mornings and you being around and probably taking the brunt of the most of it. It's probably why you moved on. But yeah, I love the game. I love obviously being a PGA member, and most important thing for me is just kind of the people that you meet through, working at different places and becoming kind of lifelong friends. I mean, you and I met one Saturday morning, had never met before, and obviously stood up in our wedding and been kind of best mates ever since. So it's a great business for that.
And isn't that the truth? I mean, you think about, I mean, maybe elaborate on not how you got into golf, but kind of the culture behind it. To think about, there was a time, if it was the same for you as it was for me, where you would idolize the club pro. You would see them around the course, you would see them around the facility, and they were this iconic person. If you look back at it now as a person in that role, maybe talk a little bit about the stuff that isn't implied in that, the people of the industry or things that you value most as being a golf professional outside of, a golf course, on the golf course, teaching at a facility. Just what powers that emotion of being a golf pro?
I mean, I'll be honest, kind of growing up, I never kind of thought I would get into the club pro world, or even the instruction world for that matter. I mean, we've all had dreams of playing, and, there's only a select few that make it. But, I think about my time back in England, growing up in and around. I was very lucky to be a member of the club there. And you're right, I always idolized the instructors. I always idolized the golf pros and kind of saw them as the face of the club. And then obviously moved to Canada and decided to become a club pro and kind of work my way up through the industry from that side of things. The thing that I love the most about kind of being in and around golf clubs or being an instructor or just being in and around the game of golf is the people that we cross paths with. That surely if we didn't play golf and we weren't surrounded in kind of the industry that we are, we just would never cross paths with those people. It's a game that brings people together, and you could say the same as just being a member of one of those clubs. You could potentially say the same thing, but we get to have a very unique relationship with some very successful people, some people that have access to things that, the day-to-day people maybe don't. And as golf pros, we're very fortunate to have access to those because of the friendships and relationships that we make through our business. So not that the business is just great for meeting people and getting access to things that potentially you don't usually. I would say of the people that we do meet too, if you were to talk to them about what the golf pro is to them, they absolutely idolize us. And this is some of the most successful people in the world. And they just see us as this, king or queen of the golf club and knows everything. And yeah, I mean, you go to some of the questions that we get day to day from doctors and some of the most, successful and business owners and stuff. And it's almost like they take their their hat off when they walk through the front gates. And, there's some silly questions, as we know. You and I have definitely been around each other when we've heard some, but they're not being silly or not thinking. They trust you and they'll ask you literally anything. And for me, that's probably the thing that stands out the most in our business. And I feel very fortunate to be the go-to person now at a club, or teaching and instructing, and people to come to you or come to me for the information they're looking for. So yeah, that would be kind of the neatest thing about our business.
Isn't it so true that you never know who you're going to meet at your club, or how they might evolve into either a close friend or just really anything. And because there's so many players that come through as a member or a guest, it is just this turnstile of meeting excellent people. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's pretty special. And I mean, I don't know if people have picked up on it yet. You weren't born here. And for someone coming from England, I've always kind of been curious to ask the differences that you would see in golf culture in England versus, Canada, but more specifically British Columbia. Like, what are some similarities that you would have seen in the golf industry, golf cultures,
Yeah, I mean, the really initially, just thinking here, really initially, the only similarity is the fact you tee off on the first hole and you finish on 18. When I think back about the culture of clubs in the UK and just how golf is played, I would say, and then, I'm a few years removed now. I've lived in Canada for 13 years, so things may have changed, but obviously still go back and visit. But very traditional back there in kind of how it's done. It's somewhat serious. There's potentially a few less fun events where people are drinking and playing golf and playing music and stuff like that. If I remember the first round that I ever played at the Banff Springs, went out with some fellow colleagues of mine, and I'd been in Canada best part of a month because it kind of started tail end of the winter, and golf season kicks off and we get on the first tee and there's beers in the cooler and there's music going, and one guy's playing in flip-flops with no spikes on, no socks on, nothing. And I can safely tell you now, that was the first time I'd ever seen that on a golf course. So definitely it seems to me that there's potential here to have kind of more fun on the golf course, a little bit more laid back, but still be very traditional. I mean, obviously being associated with private clubs the way that we have, that still exists and is still a big part of the day today. But I would say just in general that probably a little bit more relaxed here. And obviously growing up in that traditional side of things, I appreciate both sides of it. I love the music side of it and, having a good time on the golf course and what have you. And then I also appreciate the traditional side of playing tournaments and things being a little bit different. So there's definitely a lot of similarities, but from the fun factor, I would say that Canada is definitely nailing over the UK right now. So,
and I mean, when you came over, you got Canada through a fire hose in Banff. When you look back at that time in your life, what is the first thing that pops to mind, whether it be golf or lifestyle or, just things that were new to you, or what was that like for you?
Honestly, Banff was kind of Disneyland for adults. It was kind of like being in school again, but without the concern of going to class. I look at it and, I was kind of an eyes wide open at that point. Kind of went through some injuries back in the UK prior to that, and really went over there for a year to see what happened with a good friend of mine who's also a PGA member. One story I will share, we went to Banff the summer before just to kind of check it out, and we were sat in the clubhouse at the Banff Springs, and we met Simon Jones, Lovey, who's also a PGA BC member, and we were sat there, and Ben and I were kind of chatting, and I remember this big circle clubhouse, and we just kept seeing power carts going round and round and round, and Ben and I look at each other and go, these idiots, do they just drive around the clubhouse the whole time? That they literally just drive around in circles all day just to pretend they're busy. Fast forward a year. What we didn't realize at the time is the cart drop was on one side of the clubhouse and they were driving them around to clean them, to park them underneath. And we figured it out a year later, but for a year we had this vision in our head that these guys were just driving this thing around the clubhouse for fun. So,
I mean, that would have been a lot of carts. So quite
Well,
candidly, you see that many cars go by, and you're like, what world is it? What is this?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, Banff was a fun place, and yeah, it was, as I said, Disneyland for adults, and we had a great time to live in the Rocky Mountains, coming from a town in England. Was a dream come true, and obviously a great start to living in this great country, and here we are at West now. So
So in Banff, there was a golf simulator long drive competition with another golf professional. Does this sound familiar at all?
the sim and the long drive, yes. I don't know where this is going because I think it could go many different ways, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it can go anywhere you feel comfortable telling the story.
I don't remember which part of it, other than the fact
So,
every time I hit a tee shot on that damn thing, it said I flew about 230, which was just an absolute joke.
the context is,
Broken
so I
driver?
reached out. Uh-huh.
A broken driver?
Maybe. Well, I reached out to Benny, and I'm like, Ben, I need something. I'm like, tell me what happened. He says, ask him about the long drive competition with another PGA
Yeah.
professional.
I know exactly where he's going. So I thought he was trying to light me up because for whatever reason, on long drives on that sim, I would just wail on these things and carry it 232, 233. And in the end, I just gave up. So that's typical Ben using his old man strength. But, yeah, we had this simulator on the right hand side of the Rundle Lounge, which is kind of the main lounge at the Banff Springs, and throughout the winter we were in charge of running this thing, and it was reasonably successful. One of the things that would happen is, as golf pros, we would leave rather than being the guy that's lugging golf clubs around when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground, it's -20. We'd leave our clubs in there. And this one evening, some staff members, not to mention any names, went in there from another part of the hotel. They weren't golf pros, and went and played golf. Anyway, long story short, Ben and I get in there the next morning, and we're kind of looking through the clubs, and Ben goes to take a head cover off of a fellow golf professional's golf club, and the head basically just comes off. So this club had been broken during the course of play the night before, and no one had been told about it. So the guy whose club it was came up to pick up Benji because he was the only one with the car, and they were going down to the clubhouse for the day to go and work on some inventory stuff and hiring for the next season. And Ben and I thought it'd be hilarious to take this golf club back together. So we got a reel of sellotape, we put it all back together, put the head cover back on, stick it in there, and Simon was his name. He comes in, and he'll love it if he hears this. Actually, I don't think we've ever spoken to him about this post this incident. So this will be great. So he comes in, we've taped up this club, we grab our clubs out, and Benji goes, yeah, let's have a quick long drive. And Simon's like, no, I got to get down there. And Simon was always very well dressed. He had the winkle pickers on, the fancy pointy shoes, and was always kind of dolled up to the nines, fellow Englishman. And no, I don't want to. And we're like, come on, we got to do it. So long story short, I hit one, 232, whatever the number was carried. Benji hits one, hits it miles past us as he does. And Simon goes to grab his club out of the thing, grabs the head cover off, throws the head cover on the ground, goes and sets up and goes to take the club back. And literally the head just snaps off, and it's just hanging on by a little piece of sellotape. Anyway, I've never seen someone so pissed off in my life. He just grabbed his club, picked up his jacket, left. And in the corner of the Rundle Lounge, there's like these beautiful windows. And Ben follows him because he's going down with him. I'm literally peering out of the curtains, and he's at this Jeep, and he just goes in the back, and he throws this driver across the back of his Jeep. And I was just absolutely giggling my heart out, and Benji's just looking around to see if I'm looking. So I think that's where he was going with that story. But yeah, it was one of those that was just priceless. And as I said, I don't think we've spoken about that. Ben and I have for sure, but I don't think Simon's ever had that conversation with us. So I guess moral of the story is don't leave your clubs in a public space when people are going to use it, I guess. So
I love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it. Fast forward, Mark. So now an instructor full time, and candidly, as someone who has received a lesson from you. I've always valued how you break down the game, but you've always seemed to find a way to communicate it appropriate to the student. I think that's just one of the best talents that you can have. So, from an instruction standpoint, what type of student, or more importantly, what do you enjoy teaching the most?
Yeah, so I obviously love the coaching instruction side of things. We've all, I would say, the majority of people, if not everybody in the industry, got into the game because they enjoyed playing it, being around the game. To be able to book time with someone, spend time with someone, help them improve their game, which overall enhances their experience, which overall allows them to spend more money at their club, spend more time at their club, be more engaged, bring more guests out. I just, it's truly a passion of mine to make people feel better about themselves. And I do that through a way of obviously golf instruction. In regards to kind of players I work with, I'm very lucky to work with some very good players and work with some raw beginners. And I think that's kind of the art of coaching, is being able to know what that person needs, not necessarily what they think they want, but what they actually need. And then the biggest thing for me is not preaching to someone as to kind of how they need to swing it, but more importantly is, I always say this in my lessons, and it sounds strange every time I say it, but I want to teach them and coach them in a way where they don't need me. If a student of mine, especially a long-term student, hits 2 or 3 bad shots in the first 9 holes of their round, and they're needing me to come and fix it, or ask the question as to kind of why that's happening, in my opinion, I haven't done my job in educating them on understanding their game, how to fix it. Because no one's perfect, and you need to be able to kind of self-diagnose and help yourself. So I see it more as an education of educating them on their golf swing, on their game, their tendencies, the things that kind of help them, and the things that don't. And then I as I said, I'll work with any player. I don't particularly enjoy working with kind of one caliber over another. Um, but I feel very fortunate, and I think that's the most interesting thing about the game and instructing is, people gravitate to you really due to your personality and how you present, more than whether you coach a specific golfer or what have you, in my opinion. So, yeah, passion for instruction, passion for helping people play better golf. To see kind of the light bulb go off. I had it as a kid. I remember thinking how cool that was, obviously from my side of things. To do it from an instructional standpoint, to me is as good as it gets. And that's what keeps me doing it and enjoying it. So
So cool. I mean, you said my favorite word, and that's passion. And I think whether someone's new to the game or experienced in it, and if you just get out and play the sport and you have a passion for it, it trumps a lot of things. I got a great question for you. In 2 sentences or less, what is one thing a high level player, a beginner player could start doing tomorrow that would improve their skill, their enjoyment, really anything that can just get baked into their current golf game tomorrow to help them be a better golfer?
2 sentences, they're going to be long sentences here, but
Okay.
I would honestly say, and this always sounds a little kind of cliche, if you will, but I think taking care of fundamentals. It's amazing to me how many people come for golf lessons and they think that you've got this quick fix or this cure or this miracle dust that you sprinkle on them, and all of a sudden they're better golfers. But if you watch the best players in the world week in, week out, which is ultimately kind of obviously the upper echelon of what we're doing here, their fundamentals are terrific every week, but they work at them, right? So the best players on the planet, the best players in our association, you look at someone like Kevin Stinson, like, he does the same things over and over and over again, and he's extremely good at it and extremely competent at it. He's not looking for the kind of the next miracle. He's just getting gradually, marginally better at all times. And I would say the same for amateur golfers, for the same for really good players too. It's taking care of those fundamentals, doing the good things as often as you can is the way I would say it. It's routine. It's being consistent with it. It's working out once every 10 days or working out for 20 minutes, 7 days a week. Like they're two very different things. And I would say that golf's exactly the same. So maybe not the miracle answer you wanted, but I would say fundamental standpoint is where it's at.
No, but it is. It is. And for the record, we could fit about 9 commas, a couple of hyphens, a semicolon in there, and that was just one sentence. So you're good. But at the end of the day, it's staying the course. I think far too often, and it's our nature. I do it too, where you go out, you play, you have a tough round, you sit down in the laptop, and then now we're on YouTube or whatever. We're looking up on YouTube how to fix a slice. How do I this? How do I improve my transition? You just go down this rabbit hole, and you can move away from the fundamentals and the structure and saying, no, I'm going to stick to this because this is what's going to pay off long term. And it's easy to do, right? We all do it.
And I would honestly, like, as an instructor too, it's very easy to get sucked in by the students that show up for a lesson and they've seen something online, or their friends have told them something on the weekend or something like that. And they try, and not intentionally, but they're trying to hijack the lesson to work on something else. And I would say, as an instructor too, is you need to stay the course when they're trying to kind of direct you in a different manner. You need to stay the course on the things that you're working on at that time. And it may be as simple as your next lesson is regurgitating and following on from kind of where you were in the previous session. And you don't always need to teach someone something new every time you see them. You need to do what's right for them. And that's where you've got to stand your ground in those sessions as well. So
it's a hard thing to learn. You're not wrong. I mean, think about the time that I know this person wants a new tip this week. Well, we're not ready. We haven't got there. And that's an underrated skill for a pro to say, no, hold on, let's put the brakes on. We're not there yet. This is for the end result goal of shooting lower scores and enjoying the game. But that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that's just the comfort and the confidence that you have in kind of your ability and hopefully, I mean, if you spend enough time with the person too, they know that they have the confidence in your ability to do that too. And they trust you. And I would say on the whole, everyone's been very good at the trust side of things and know that the instructor or the coach is leading the session, and you're going to trust what it is they're doing because there's a reason they're doing it. So
spot on. I couldn't agree more. In a world where, I mean, over the last 5 years, you think I'm fighting every urge to bring up COVID, but
yes,
it does bring up a point in the golf industry where it changed forever how people look at it. I think in that its popularity, yes, but more organically in that it was something to do outside with your friends. You don't have to be good at it. It doesn't have to be a country club. It can just be a hobby or a sport or whatever you want it to be. So, it changed the industry. And I think gone are the days of a traditional path of a golf professional. Come up, turn pro, do and walk the path and maybe one day be a head professional or a general manager or something. Now we see people branch out into more specific roles in the golf industry. I've really had a passion for retail and the business side, and other players gravitated more to the playing or the teaching. But even deeper into that, there's different aspects. And I say this to say the idea of things away from the course with social media and YouTube and websites and apps that are helping nurture the growth of the game and instruction and getting better. Couldn't be more excited to ask you about my golf IQ, because the vast majority of people don't know something that you're pouring your heart and soul into. And I would love for you to just explore my golf IQ for people that don't know about it.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. I mean, just to kind of touch on golf pros and kind of finding your way in the business. I mean, I've held a number of different roles during my time, and I think it's really important that you don't. I remember early on in my career sitting down with some peers and them asking what I wanted to do to try and help pave that pathway, which is very, very helpful. It's a great way to do it. What I would say to people getting into the business now, and then even people that have been in the business for a while, you don't need to necessarily just put yourself in one corner. Find the route that's good for you, find out what works for you, and be open to different things. Because, the pathway that's right for Derek is not necessarily right for Mark. So don't be afraid to just take your time to find out what it is that you like and you're passionate about. And, if it takes a few years to find that, then great. Regarding my golf IQ, so, this really came around because I gave a lesson to one of my students, and he proceeded to go home and spend 3 hours on YouTube that evening, looking up kind of what it was that I taught him on that day. And I'll be honest, initially I was very offended by the fact that I presented it in a manner to him where we'd seen drastic improvements during the session, and he felt the need to go home to regurgitate it, to hear it maybe in a different way. And as I said, I was offended. I thought maybe I didn't do my job. He paid me nicely for it. And away we went, and we had another session, and we spent the first 15 to 20 minutes of the next session undoing the stuff that he'd found online. So he is a software guy. It basically started a conversation. This conversation probably started about 2.5 years ago. Got together with a fellow golf pro of ours. He's a very good friend of mine, mentioned him earlier on, and this software gentleman. And we basically created initially a website, but long-term an app where it's going to organize YouTube and instructional videos based on the golfer's tendencies. So when you join our platform, we will look at your swing video. We'll do kind of a face-on down the line. We'll do a video review. We'll put it in your locker for you, and we will go in and we will say, these are the golfer's 4, 5, 6 tendencies. And through our library, it will curate and organize those videos to ensure that the videos that you're watching are relevant to you. There's a lot of great information online, but the average golfer, the average person, does not know what they're looking at, and needs a little bit of direction. And that's kind of where we come in, where our platform comes in. So yeah, that's kind of how it came around. That's really a very short version of what it does. Long term, the goal is that it's going to use AI and look at a swing video and be able to do it for us. Initially with the launch, we need to go in as golf professionals, have our own personal touch, which I think is still very, very important. And that's basically what the platform is. It's golf instruction is not getting cheaper. Our platform is designed for your golfer getting into the game, your average golfer, the people that aren't necessarily comfortable in going to a golf club. They don't have access to a golf club. They can't afford to go to a golf club. They don't want to, they're scared to come for a lesson with me one-on-one. And I still think those people deserve to get instruction and deserve to get better and enjoy the game. And that's who the platform is built for. It's very, very reasonable from a price perspective. And the goal is to get as many people in there as we can, to help people play better golf. And then within that platform, there is some private instruction stuff too. So our goal long-term is to have PGA instructors within our platform that are teaching online, not to take them away from their clubs, but to maybe help them supplement their income and be able to, create some additional revenue when it's dark outside, when the weather's bad.
It's just as someone that's an outsider looking in, the passion with which you built and spent time building this thing is completely admirable. And it's exciting. And you think just how you spoke about accessibility. I mean, the very easy barriers are cost and perception and comfort. But there's a lot of other things like physical access to a golf instructor, isn't always easy. When I was working in Jasper, we would, on Tuesday nights all summer, we would drive out to Valemont. There's 3 pros would pile into a car. We'd drive out to Valemont, which was 60 minutes, 50 minutes away. We'd teach group clinics for 90 minutes, and then we drive all the way back. And I remember getting $50 for those. That was gas money, essentially. But you had to go out to get to these. They didn't have club pros at the facility. And so things like this are important to, make it accessible. And that also doesn't imply that these people weren't, some of them, good golfers. They didn't have the access. And so I'm so excited for it. I think it's a wonderful way to do it. And you're on the right path, my man.
Well, I think, I mean, obviously AI is a big part of what we're doing going forward, and it's part of the world now, and I think it's going to change things. I've had a few questions regarding kind of AI and how it's going to change golf instruction. I believe it will, and obviously it's going to change how our platform works as well. But people still want the personal touch. They still want the personal interaction. They still want to feel valued and feel like they've been assessed by someone that knows what they're doing. And that's really the goal of our platform, is to bring those two things together. Yes, you're subscribing to our platform. You're a member. You're the same as everyone else, but you also have a personal touch and PGA pros going in there and setting things up and organizing things and interacting with you to make you feel like you're having a private golf lesson, but you're doing it within a platform where, money's maybe not too much of an issue because of the price. And then obviously from kind of a time side of things, you can do it at any time, have access to it. The goal of the platform really is to know that Derek Orr plays on Saturday morning and he was not very good out the bunkers last week. So on Friday night, we send a tip that we know is good for him, and it goes straight through to his email, flashes up on the app, and we know, Derek, you're playing tomorrow at 9:00. Here's a quick bunker tip. We know you struggled last week because you searched it, and people love that personal touch. So.
It's great. And for all the listeners that have ever played golf with me, Mark could have picked about 15 swing flaws or struggles, and it would have applied. So thank you for calling out my bunker play, which is, there's not a lot of bunkers in the sims, in the golf simulators. So, so very, very accurate and tailored coaching. But I also think, and I really strongly believe this, saying, you don't pay the plumber to bang on the pipe. You pay the plumber to know where to bang. And so the idea being, your insights and your experience help curate these things. And that's where AI will make you a better plumber. It'll make it easier for you to find the spots to know where to bang using your experience and your professional insight. And AI will help you get there faster and maybe more efficiently, right? So I like that concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had this conversation with someone recently out on the golf course, and they got a little frustrated. I think they hit a poor chip or something of this nature. And it kind of just brought up golf becomes so much more enjoyable when you really are honest with yourself about why you're playing. Some people, myself included, are far more into the social side where you're getting out, playing with your friends, time out of the office, enjoying the birds chirping. Some people look at it as a challenge. Maybe they want to shoot a certain score or, improve to a handicap factor or whatever it is. But I think it's a good exercise from time to time to say, really, truly, and this is just for yourself, not anybody else in the world, to say, what do I really want? Why am I playing? Because it is so easy to get wrapped up in perfection. You've got this little bump and run chip to a pin that's only 40 feet away for, it's on a par 5, you chip it close, it's a kick in birdie, and you just step on it, and it's on the other side of the green, and you get angry in it, but you're not looking for perfect. You're looking for enjoyment or improvement. So now you've got an opportunity to improve on that chip. I mean, it's hard. It's easy to say and hard to do, but why are we playing? Why are we doing this? And I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right, I know the answer. I love asking the question. 2 big ones. Lowest round ever played.
62 at Victoria Golf Club.
Tell everybody about 18.
I stood on the 17th tee box, actually playing with 3 members. This was, it was a long time ago now. I've got to start practicing and get better again. But he basically said, if you finish 3-3, you shoot 62, which, as we know as golfers, the last thing you want to hear is what you need to do a certain thing when there's holes left. It was a very social round and fun. And Yuli loves this story because he just loves the game and he loves decent players. So anyway, I unfortunately don't make 3 on 17. I make 4, which is a short par 5 at Victoria Golf Club. So I stand on the 18th tee and he's like, well, you didn't make 3 there. And I said, I guess I got to make 2 here, and hit driver in the middle of the fairway and had about 75, 80 yards up the hill and basically just fly a lob wedge straight into the bottom of the hole and made 2 on 18. So, 62 at VGC, which was great. And yeah, never forget that round. It was a beautiful sunny day. There was not much wind, and it was perfect.
Isn't that great? I love that story because it's a walk-off 62, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know this part of the story. If you knew, like, was there anybody up near the green? Like, did you know when it went in, or when you got up there, you had to find it?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it. And I'm pretty sure Fraser, the member, I think he was walking up the right-hand side, but it was pretty clear that it went in just based on the sound that it made. I will mention this. I did have one finish. I've got to mention this because we played the Georgia Straight Cup at Victoria Golf Club, which I actually think it was potentially a better finish than what happened here. So I was playing against Clark McPherson. I was two down after the 15th hole, and Clarky will tell you this, I had no business being 2 down. I played all right. Anyway, I finished 3-3-3 to beat Clarky 1 up. He's still traumatized by it, and I think I had probably a maximum of 2 feet for those 3 holes combined. So I hit it to about 3 inches on 16. I hit it to just under a foot on 17, and I hit it to about an inch up 18 and shook his hand and thanked him for the game. So that was honestly probably a better finish just based on the context of what was going on. We wanted to get some points on the board for the Vancouver Island team, and yeah, he was pretty stunned, as was I. So that was a fun one. I think it was me. Yeah. I think it was me, Clarky, Lindsay, and Porrig, and it kind of came out of nowhere. So anyway, I just remember walking the 16th tee and being borderline pissed off that I was 2 down. I had no business being 2 down, and here we are. So it was
good. That is so good. Even where was the pin on 16? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. It was back left, so it was kind of up on that back portion. Yeah, it was back left. 17 was just over the ridge on the right side, and then 18. I'll be honest, I don't remember where it was, but
yeah, I mean, you didn't know when you were hitting it either. You just, I don't know. I'm not missing, so I shall just swing.
When you interview Clark, he can tell you.
You know I will. Favorite course?
Married.
Which brings up, I almost forgot that there is a story. It's one of my favorites. Can you please tell, you know the story I'm talking about where you run into so-and-so in the parking lot?
Yes. Are you talking about the Rosie one? Yeah. So, been very fortunate to play Marion a couple of times. Last time we went out to play there, we flew out east on the Sunday morning of the Ryder Cup. And actually we sat at Bethpage and played Bethpage on the Sunday of the Ryder Cup. We had it on in the bar. We just sat there waiting for our tea time. We didn't tee off till about 3. And everyone was massively disinterested in the Ryder Cup because it was just a runaway in Rome the last time it was held there, even though it was going to be in Bethpage, which is obviously coming up this year. So we play there, we play a few other places, and then on the Tuesday, we get to Marion and play there with a good friend of ours that's hosted us a couple of times. And we have kind of a bite just before we go out. We're walking to the parking lot, and these two blacked out Escalades pull up, and lo and behold, out jumps Justin Rose, big fella. You know, been fortunate. We're from basically the same place in the UK. Ben McKendrick actually grew up playing golf with him, and as you can imagine, got drummed by him most times they played. Anyway, Rosie gets out, says, "How you doing, boys?" And we're just walking down to get into the car to go up to the range. And how you doing, boys? And oh yeah, we're good. And he's like, "You boys don't sound like from around here." So we have a quick conversation, have a few mutual friends, and I just said, "Congrats on the Ryder Cup. What a great weekend." And he's like, "Oh, thanks very much. It was literally the best weekend of my life." And I said, "Hopefully the hangover wasn't too bad on Monday morning." Based on all the videos that we saw from the bus, and the Europeans definitely know how to do it properly. And literally without a beat, absolutely deadpan, just looks at me straight in the face and says, "I'm pretty sure you've got to stop drinking to be hungover." And that was the gist of the story. So, yeah, we giggled, we had a good laugh. Cool story about Rosie is he was offered when he won the US Open at Marion, they basically wanted to give him a lifetime membership and him be kind of part of the club. And he said, obviously massively honored that you would do that for me. I want to bring my friends here. I want to host events here. I want to kind of just be a member and be like everybody else. So I'll go on the wait list. I'll join. I'll pay my way, and I just want to be treated like a regular member. So that's Rosie's story. And I will say that the gentleman that hosts us, Hammy, he knows him and sees him 2 or 3 times a year. And Rosie, just around the club that day, just knew everybody's names, made everybody feel welcome. Obviously he's a superstar, but just a truly genuine gentleman. And yeah, he was awesome.
And the last question I just want to put out to you is, what at the end of the day describes your passion?
Golf's just truly a game that obviously has integrity, has honesty, brings, as I mentioned earlier on at the start of this podcast, is it brings many different walks of life together through one kind of common denominator, which is golf. And I'm very fortunate in the places I've been able to play that we truly get to walk on some of the most beautiful pieces of property in the world, solely because we play golf. Anyone could go for a hike, they can do their thing, but to walk on a perfectly manicured golf course at sunrise, or even playing sunset 9 holes at Victoria Golf Club or something like that, it truly is special. And that's solely because of the game of golf. So I love the game. I love trying to get better at it. I love being around the people that love it. And I love, one of the most unique things to me about golf is, I can't necessarily go and play tennis at Wimbledon and go and play a couple of sets, but we can all go and play a golf course that the major champions have played and had access to. And I think that's one of the most unique things about it is they're playing, other than potentially Augusta, but they're playing on some golf courses that people have access to and people are members at, stuff like that. So I think that's really cool and unique.
Couldn't agree with you more. Mr. Bicknell, it couldn't have been a more enjoyable experience chatting with you. Thank you for being on the PGA of BC podcast. Is there anything left that you want to say? What's coming down the pipeline? Anything exciting you want to chat about? Or is it simply a Mark Bicknell sign out to say, I love you and we'll see you soon?
I appreciate that. We kind of discussed kind of the business aspect of things earlier on with my Golf IQ. I will say this, I think Derek's obviously a very good friend of mine. For him to put something like this together, to have the initiative to create something like this. We all listen to podcasts, we all watch them on YouTube, and to see someone's passion come together and try and develop us golf professionals to be in front of the camera and be better at what we do. More importantly, to share experiences that we have with the business that we all love. I take my hat off to you, Derek, and I know that was not what you were looking for, and you probably didn't want to hear that, but thanks very much for putting it together. I think it's a great initiative, and I'll be honest, I can't wait to listen to some of the other people that you're going to have on, because I know you're going to pick some absolute winners. And hopefully the rest of the PGA BC enjoy this, and other people that are looking at golf pros for the PGA BC. And we have a massive pool of very, very talented people, and I look forward to hearing their answers to the questions, and also kind of some insight into their lives and what drives them in our business.
As always, Mr. Bicknell, about the classiest way to answer a question about you was to deflect it to someone else. Thank you for the kind words. It's going to be a cool project. I think we're going to do some pretty cool conversations. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend, and thank you again for doing this.